Hello and welcome to the Genja tutorials. Today I'm going to go over Junos PyEasy tables and views. I'm going to go into the regular directory that I use, Genja tutorials PyEasy, for those of you that have been following along, and activate the virtual environment. If you haven't been following along, you can find it in the blog called Installing Junos PyEasy. And it tells you how to create a virtual environment and kind of goes over the standard setup that I have. As I've added the cleanup, I've created another folder called tutorials. And as we're in the process of kind of grouping everything together, we're going to create a new directory called operations and start grouping everything in there because it was getting a bit of a mess. Directory. And I could not, because I wanted to back up stuff to Git, I didn't want to back up all the binaries. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of the connect sh. This can be found on Git. I'll put a link in the video. And we're going to copy that to the operations, but we're going to rename it. So if you want to rename it, so you just typed in operations, which is your new directory, and we're going to rename it to operational tables. Operational table. And we will just enter that. So now we're there, we'll just cd into operations. We can list what's in there. So now we have our operational table document. Now, what we need to do is we'll need to gather some information on how to kind of build these operational tables and views. We need to import some modules. So to do that, we need to start Python interactively. This is interactive mode. We're just going to import OS because we're going to use the module to find out where the juniper.junos directory is, the path to it. We want to find the path. So what we do is we can do os dot, or we can create a variable is equal to os dot path dot directory name, and then we want to put the module as we've imported it, dot Junos, and then file. We want to know where this file is. And if we just do path, we need to call it back. So now we have the directory, so we can copy this. Double tap for me in Putty. We'll copy that for me. So if we come out of this mode now, and we can just cd, paste that in, and then now we've pasted that in, we want to grep the word table. You can put it in quotes if you want. Table followed by that, by colon, and then it's any, so it will go down and find, we're looking in the operational folder, and then it's any file in YAML. So it will look in it will go into the operational or OP directory and look for any file that ends YAML, and inside it will look for this. That combination, and it will display the line. So there we have it. So now we have all our tables available to us to import. So what we need is, we're going to start with the first one, art table. So you just copy that, make a note of it. It's within your view, and we'll just clear the screen for now. Actually, no. Yeah, we know what it is. So what we need to do is, so it's going to be art table. So it's going to be Juniper Junos dot op dot art import art table. So that's what we're going to have to do. So we have to kind of memorize the structure because it's within the art file. So that's going to be the structure of it. So if I do clear for the import, so now what we want to do is we want to go back into our operational view folder. So if we do cd, this will take us home and then up from home. So this is an absolute path I'm using. Genja tutorials, PyEasy, tutorials, operations. And then we do list, there's our operational file for our Python script. So if we open this, I use Vim, operational table. Now, what we want to do is we want to edit. So import into, so we want to import, I can type, no, sorry. So from Juniper dot Junos dot op dot art import art table. And then, so now we've imported, that's going to import the module, but we need to make use of it. To use, basically this is a class, so we need to create an object of the art table class. So we'll insert that underneath this statement here. We're going to put art table is going to be equal to art table, and we need to feed it a device. So basically the device we've logged into. So what we're doing is we're logging in, we've created a variable called dev, and we're feeding that into the art table. And what we want to do is we want to basically populate the art table. So it's art table dot get. This will get everything, and then we can just print the art table because it's stored within, so we don't have to create a variable. So if we just print art table, it will be stored within the object itself, and then you can just come out, save that, run the command, operational table. So this is what I want to connect to, so this is my device. Your IP is going to be different. It's my password. So it found 7 items, so we know we're good. So next, so now we know we've imported the module, the script works, it's got some entries, it's got 7 items within the art table. So I'm going to continue and start to build on the script. We want to look for something specific. So let's just clear this. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back in and edit the file so it starts doing more now. So we're going to create a function. Some space. So specify a function with df, it's a define function, and we're going to name it. So let's get our info. We are going to pass it 2 variables. So art address, named it slightly different than the variable up there, and the device. which is a variable for this once we've connected. So within this, we are going to copy some of this information. So this information down here. So within, so I can actually after loop, just 2 lines. Go here, paste them in. So now I've just moved that. So I've pretty much cut and paste. That's what I've just done. And then bring it back. 2, 3, 4. So here we created an object, we're getting. But what we want to do is now we want to narrow down the information that we're getting. So we want to get a host name. We can give it a DNS name or an IP address. So we're going to pass the variable IP address. And what that's going to do is it's just going to get all the information for that IP address from the ARP table. So it's kind of like giving it an extra variable. So if you can type on the command line, I don't know, show ARP with an IP address or host name, it will do the same thing and just pull that information back. These are the variables available to it. And then we want to see, so if you just do ARP table, it just gives you basically how many items, its own view. Whereas if you want to see the dictionary, because that's what it's returned as, it will give you a dictionary view. And then items is equal to, so I've created this so that it can loop through the ARP table keys and basically just print out what's available because it's a list. So we just want to loop through and find, does it match? So it will basically be for IP in items, range items. So that was the reason for the length. So items is equal to the length. So it's just going to loop through as many times as it finds as many keys, just to rule out any errors. And then it's going to say, well, if ARP table, and then because this is a list, stored as a list, that's why I had to loop through. So I'm giving it indexed. So we're saying, okay, index 0. It's in a list. It's just a way to get into the list. And then within the dictionary now, so IP address, so we're saying if curly brackets, square brackets is equal to the IP address I've just passed, because that's what we've entered, then do this. So we're saying if that, now we want it to print. What do we want it to print? Well, we want to say we found it. So I'm going to give it some space. Oops. So new line, so 2 new lines, and it's just saying found the IP address. And we're going to say, move out this. Why is it doing that? No, it's stuck. There you go. So now, just want to do that. Copied. No. Undo that. Okay, it's playing up a little bit. I'm going to put that in. And we want it to print out the IP address within the dictionary. So So it will print found IP address, and it will print the IP address within that dictionary. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it return something slightly different. It's gonna return the MAC address because we're gonna use that for another function later on. So basically what we're gonna do is change the IP address to MAC address in this dictionary. So this is done. So now that's good. So when we start the program, the script, because it's in a function, you need to call the function. So it's not called. This part of the script, it will just continue. Every time you start it, will just run this. So we need to call it. How do we call it? So we do get ARP-info by its name. And then because we've defined two variables, we need to give it an IP address. So the IP address, variable, and device. But before that, we need a way of getting this IP address. So we'll use the input function. So above this, we're going to call the variable IP address. And we're going to use input. And we're going to say, enter the IP address to locate. The IP address to locate. Space at the end, so that gives it, when you're on a command line, it's a space between that colon. So there was one thing I didn't do, because we're returning the MAC address. We want to create a variable now, because I said we're going to use that later. So it's called MAC address for the information that's returned. So it will return. So here we're returning the MAC address, and then we can call that MAC address within this variable once it's returned. So our script should be good. So I got an error here. Our table keys. It was an undefined variable, basically. So we should be good. So now if I come out and test this, it should run, it should locate an IP address that I give it. And so let's come out and give it a spin. So now, if we do, Nathan 3, operational. So this is the IP address I want to connect to. Enter the password for your device. Okay, I connected. So the IP address to locate. So it found the IP address. This is the information. So this was in when I printed the items. This is how it's stored. So it's stored underneath a MAC address. So to enter it, you need to have the MAC address. The ARP entry is stored under a MAC address. So yeah, that's how so that's one reason for storing it that way, but that's the same as well for the Ethernet switching. So if we clear this, and we're going to go in, so we can do more now. So we found the IP address, we know it's on the device, which has given us a MAC address. Now, a MAC address is associated to a physical device. So if we want to basically find the port that it's on, we can create another function and include another table to get the information. So to include that table, we'll go back in and we need to import again. So from Junos.op. This time it's going to be called ELS Ethernet switching table. I made note of this earlier, so you can go back and have a look and see. Let's import it's ELS. ELS is because of the version of code that I'm using. They updated some of the syntax and commands, so there's another version just without the ELS. So Ethernet switching table. So it's quite a wordy one. ELS Ethernet switching table. Space. So we're going to create another function. Oh, I'm already in edit mode. Create some space there. So we are going to call it get ELS ether table. Just shorten it a bit. We are going to be passing it the variable we created, MAC address, and device again. Really, you can put device first, doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're gonna start to create, so we need to create another object. It needs to connect again to pull the information. So we're just going to call it ether, the object, and we're going to say ELS, because I've got my IDE, it knows and can finish autocomplete for me. Device. So now it's ether dot get the MAC address. Very simple. So now we've got the MAC address, and we just want to say, okay, if you've got that, print found. I should have just copied the top line in there, what we typed earlier. Found the interface this time, and the interface is going to be within ether, still a dictionary, and then we want to feed it the MAC address. The MAC address is a variable, not a string. And the interface. So, and we want to end it. So I'm going to give it some more spacing, new lines. And then end will be so that we can tidy it up. So we'll repeat, oops, end is a keyword in print. So we'll print dashes so many times. Oops. So I'm saying end. Oh no. It's all over the place. Oops. Looking at the wrong keyword. Styling. And then we just want to print another blank line. Just tidy up. So now we have that function. We can then go on. We need to add just a little bit more in. So if we scroll down here, is everything closed? Or is it? Oh, hold on. Hold on. Found that. It's missing a comma there. And this is my syntax highlighting. I'm like, why is it not going away? So it's detecting some errors. So see these errors? It's just basically Pepe, just making sure you got the correct spacing and lining for Python standards. So now what I want to do is, now that I've tidied that up, is after we return the MAC address, so we would have got the variable, we want to say, okay, if you found the MAC address, then we want to call our new function, which is get. And we want to feed it the MAC address, excuse me, and device, so it can connect. That's the order I've put it in up there. And then we want to do else. So if it find a MAC address, then fine. Run the next function. If it doesn't, we want to print not found. Just give us some feedback onto what's going on. So what we can do is, just so that it's a bit more clearer now, what's actually going on. So there's a kind of default, it will return nothing, but what I'll do is, which I missed out earlier, is just add a return there. It returns nothing basically. So it finds nothing, it returns nothing, it just means return none. So we're saying, if true, if there is a MAC address, fine. If there's nothing or false, none is kind of equal to false, then it will say, okay, fine, print it found nothing, or print not found. And that should be it, and we should be good. So now, if we try and save that, okay. So I'm going to go back to our device. My devices that I want to connect to. Enter my password for my key. And then the IP address I want to locate is 12. So now, just like that, found the MAC address, found the IP address, and physical port. There's a MAC address there. So I was just giving some feedback saying, yeah, this is it. This is the physical port, and this is the MAC address. And there we have it. Obviously, if this is on just one device, if it's on a larger scale, then you'd probably have to tweak. You would almost certainly have to tweak this to kind of search through multiple devices to pull some information. But thank you, and until next time.